Criminal lawyers, who's the craziest client you've ever worked with? I'm a lawyer. A defense attorney to be more specific. I defend criminals and innocent people alike. Most of the criminals I defend aren't James Bond villains or George Clooney from the Ocean's movies. Most criminals I defend are stupid. Otherwise, they wouldn't need a lawyer because they wouldn't get caught. Most of the time I can tell whether or not my client committed the crime. Sometimes, they even tell me straight up. One day, I got a call from a mother asking me to represent her son. She gave me a rundown on the charges and what she knew. I told her I could take the case. When I first met the son I knew immediately that he was guilty. I can't give you the details of the case, but all that matters was that this guy was not the sharpest tool in the shed. He had been pretty much caught red-handed carrying out his offense. The prosecution wanted to give him 48 months. I negotiated them down to 36. I urged this guy to take the deal. It was the best he was going to get, seeing as though they caught him in high-definition security footage. He refused to take the deal. He must have been watching Suits every day because he would quote legal documents that had no relevance to his case in an attempt to justify going to trial. He thought this was goodwill hunting. In reality, this guy barely graduated high school and had the literacy of an 8th grader. Every meeting I had with him would end with me pleading with him to take the deal. He would refuse and say he had to go see his girlfriend. His favorite line was, "We have to fight it. We didn't have to do anything." After a couple meetings going nowhere, I decided to give up trying to talk sense into him. We went to trial. I'm a good lawyer, but I'm not Jesus. I'm not in the business of miracles. The jury found my guy guilty on all accounts. No surprise there. The surprise would come during the sentencing. When he was found guilty, my guy had given me the meanest mug of all time. I think he felt betrayed by me somehow, even though I had told this idiot to take the deal. On sentencing day, his usual support group was there. His mom, his brother and his sister, his girlfriend, and his aunt had all been there for the trial. But there were 3 new guys I hadn't seen before. I had seen this before. Guys would call some friends to try to intimidate the judge to get a lighter sentence, I guess. Stupid. I didn't think anything of it. It was business as usual in the courtroom until I heard commotion coming from the hallway outside. It sounded like muffled screaming and it was negligible at first. As it got louder, the judge had to stop mid-sentence and ask the bailiff to investigate what was going on. The bailiff didn't lift a foot before the doors to the courtroom swung open and a woman who looked like she had just woken up from a 15-year nap stormed in. Her hair was all over the place. She looked like a female Snoop Dogg if he had been addicted to substances other than Mary Jane. I thought she was just a tweaker that just found herself in the wrong place. I figured she would just get escorted out with no incident until she grabbed my client's girlfriend by the head and started beating her in front of the family. Now I didn't know what to think. The girl was wearing a Cookie Monster t-shirt and brutalizing the girlfriend. There was no longer any order in this courtroom. The bailiff went to break up the fight. She was a 5-foot black woman that was built like the Red Angry Birds character. It didn't matter. As soon as she got over there, she whipped out her taser and hit the Cookie Monster woman with it. Cookie Monster got stiff as a board and fell to the ground. The bailiff stood over her and got snooker punched by my client's girlfriend. The girlfriend was so delirious at that point that she just started fighting the first body she saw in front of her. She got the bailiff across the head. Before long, they were engaged in a demented battle. I was watching, in awe, like everyone else in the courtroom. All of a sudden I was clobbered with a right hook that came out of nowhere. Apparently my client's boys were there to send me a message too. They used the distraction caused by Mrs. Cookie Monster to sucker punch me and the other lawyer. One of the guys went for the prosecutor, and the other went after the judge. The prosecution must have taken self-defense classes because when I looked over there, she had this guy in some sort of arm lock that looked excruciating. The other guy knocked the judge out pretty easily and went to grab my client. They ran out with the guy still in handcuffs and tried to make their escape. The bailiff was still engaged in a raging battle against the tweaker and my client's girlfriend, who had seemingly teamed up against the law. As soon as the guys opened the door, they were tackled by a squad of cops. The courtroom was in shambles. It was pure chaos. In my 20 years of practice, I have never seen anything like this. The judge ended up being fine. It turned out the Cookie Monster woman was my client's other girlfriend that he had been seeing without telling her about his main girl. Nearly everyone involved with the siege of the courtroom was arrested. I got to take off for a while and recover from the trauma of that day, but I just wanted paid time off. In reality, I thought the whole experience was awesome.